the issue of representation. This is your chance to respond.
To Mr. Sanko, I think my response to you will be that I'm differing with your intellectual capacity to reason with the kind of people we want. As youth and as a representation of comrades, and Makiu, we are comrades of enchanted physiognomy, we must have, as Sankara said, an element of madness to bring in the freedom we want. My hope is in that individual being trusted with the position of IEBC chair and the remaining commissioners. My hope is not on the system that has been placed. My hope is not on the religious belief, but in that individual. So I want to teach you that for every scoundrel that we have in government, we have a hero. And for a politician who thinks crookedly, as I'm now perceiving you to, know that we have a dedicated leader. And know that leadership, I was a while back thinking of what leadership is. And let me now teach you of what leadership is. Leadership is about
allow me to cut you short and lead you more into the conversation on IEBC.
Yes.
You've mentioned something to do with, confidence in an individual.
Yeah.
Probably now engaging the point on inclusivity and representation.
Yes.
Do you feel like the current selection process has room for representation?
Representation in the commission is not going to happen as we expect it to. Basing your arguments first on age that has been put into place, I think the limit is 35 years. It should be 35, but according to the people who have been enlisted, no youth appears in that. No youth appears in that list. Why am I telling you that I'm basing my trust on that individual? The government has a position of taking crooks from one area to another. You jump ship from executive to judiciary. We have now Anna Madi jumping from judiciary to the electoral system. I cannot trust a person of questionable integrity. That is why when I say that we want that when as youth we come out and we say we want a representation of youth, not that I want someone who is 20 years old. I want someone who is relatively young, who resonates with our daily challenges, who sees the importance of ensuring that the electoral system runs smooth, to ensure that people who come behind him, people who are seeing things that he is seeing on his age and time, do not experience this. That is why I'm talking about leadership. We are looking for someone who has genuine passion for public service, someone who has the capability, someone. That is why of commission this time. But you have a very crooked selection panel that does not even interview the commissioners to totality. You ask a question, it is not answered in full according to what the electorate and citizens of the republic want, and then it is just bypassed. So you see, things like that make questions run on our mind. Are we really bringing the right people? Are we really bringing the right people and giving them the mandate to deliver to us a credible election that after announcement we will trust? Or are we just bringing people who are saying that I will announce election midnight? All
right, and there's an issue that you've brought up, probably Beth would comment on it, when it comes to, the unity of the commission as we have it. We witnessed the introduction of the word opaque into the political space through Cherera 4 when they differed with what the law allowed for the chairperson of IEBC to announce to be the tallying officer for presidential elections. Do you foresee a similar circumstance reoccurring in the future?
What I would say about that is that in any group of people, there will always be disagreements. The key test is how you deal with those disagreements. If you do not deal with those disagreements in a conclusive way, that is when you will see the split on television. I can tell you for a fact that boards, commissions, they disagree on the table every day, even perhaps in regards to the simplest of decisions. However, how you handle it, listening to every member who sits with you as a chairperson, letting them vent and give reasons on why their decision is as is, then being able to make decision as a decision as a group. But when you have some commissioners feeling left out, feeling not heard, then they will go to the public with their concerns. And for me, I think that is what happened in the last elections. That is why we had the Cherera 4 versus the chairperson of the commission, who was largely isolated with a few commissioners on the side. So what I can pinpoint about that is a lack of problem solving and dispute resolution skills on behalf of the commission.
So that is something key in regards to...
That is something very key.
All right. And there's an issue that also happens again and again in terms of IEBC, for example, currently saying they need around 61 billion for them to conduct an election, them not having registered any new voters since 2022 because of the notice given by the then chairperson of the IEBC, the late Wafula Chebukati, stopping registration to allow for inspection of the register. Are these things not going to, in general, derail the process, of Kenyans even enjoying service from the commission, or rather that should be served by the commission?
What I would say is this. We are 2 years to the elections. Already the issue of having commissioners on board should have been dealt with a long time ago, to give them the time to be able to make sure that all the processes were right. But now we have 2 years to plan an election, which means that the chairperson and commissioners who are coming in will have to work harder than harder to be able to get things done. But working hard does not mean that we throw away some processes. We do not take care of, the voter registration. We throw away some processes and say, oh, we did not have time. It just means that they are going to have to burn the midnight oil to ensure that everything is in order. Because if even one thing is not in order, then automatically the trust of Kenyans in the commission has already been broken. So we are looking to a problem in 2027. So it is up to them now to get into office and to work so hard. And if you look at the list in their entry in terms of by-elections, in terms of voter registrations, in terms of civic education, they have a lot to do. So they cannot attempt to relax in office. They have to hit the ground running.
Yes, Fide.
So to me, I think let us approach it in this angle. There was a timeline that was set by the late Wafula Chebukati on when the process you have mentioned was supposed to end. The big question you should be asking yourself now is, was the timeline met? You are talking about 61 billion. What is happening with unused kits that we need to undergo expense of buying new kits instead of doing maintenance? It is simple logic. An illiterate man in the village knows that maintaining a bicycle is much more cheaper than buying a new bicycle. We are supposed to be looking at maintenance. We are talking of austerity measures and you want to buy a new electoral kit. The government is deliberately, and let us put this clear, it is deliberately denying youths a chance to register as voters. And this will automatically lead to a second-class adult and registered population, which will mutate back into the demos we are seeing. That is what is happening now. People will feel that their voices are not being heard. Let us speak of what the commission ought to do. Ask yourself, we had the commission, IBC, in terms of registering of voters. We have the commission, the Minister of Interior, the now DP, imposed the charges, which register votes, and we have a population that is approximately 10 million. Where does this 10 million go? Why spend 61 billion when you're denying 10 million votes, young people who feel that they want their voice heard, a representation to vote and bring in leaders they have? This is a deliberate money tapping scheme, and let us have it clear. There is no 61 billion that is being used to bring any magic. There is no magic. If 61 billion is passed to to this. Makiu, we have 3 billion that is being brought for public participation for IEBC. What are we publicly participating in? Yet voices of Kenyans are, we need the commission, we need people to start registering as voters as early as possible so that by 2027 January, we are done with it. We are focusing on uprooting crooked leaders and bringing in fresh new minds. These are things that we should be speaking about. Let us speak the truth here. You see, when we engage in such discussions, I think, and this one I beg to, I'll differ with majority of my friends here, that we try to appease people who are in positions of power. Mm-hmm. Nothing will ever change if you are appeasing someone. Someone who is oppressing you needs a direct, brutal force to ensure that you get what you want. So we have a very bad system that if you do not change, change will change us.
Now, let me take you to the National Dialogue Committee, where they gave some recommendations, including amendment of IEBC. And among some of the things, or rather some of the issues that were being recommended, is that the term for the chairperson is made to become 3 years. However, JILAC adjusted that, recommending that it now becomes 6 years, non-renewable, unlike the 3-year renewable ones. Do you think the term of the chairperson, or rather the commissioners, have an effect in terms of the operation of the commission, the IEBC?
Perhaps this is what I would answer to that. The chairperson's role is very pivotal in terms of, ensuring elections are fair, ensuring elections are they can actually account for the electoral process. But this is what I tend to think. I think as a chairperson, you should not act alone in a silo. You should ensure that if you were to drop dead today, God forbid, that there is somebody who can be able to take up from the notes you've done, the reports that you have done. So for me, it is not necessarily a matter of time, it's a matter of efficiency. Whether it is 3 years or 6 years, how efficient have you been? If I was to enter office today,
hand over to you. I had a question to that is Ndego Njiro. My question would be, when you mentioned about the issue of going to court to oppose the process as currently is, with the ramifications expected to be the delay of an election, would that be in public interest?
You might look, public interest is quite an interesting argument. But again, we cannot walk ourselves into a gallows. We cannot walk ourselves into a trap where somebody is laying a trap and setting up the country for failure. The democracy, or a democracy, is maintained by various complementary institutions. And courts are part and parcel of a complementary into place to complement our democracy. The interest of the people to exercise their sovereignty and to elect a government of their choice. An IEBC that is not capable of appreciating and confirming the people's will is not worth its salt. Therefore, there is no need for us just to say that you'll appear unpatriotic if you go and challenge the outcome of a shoddy process. If they do not want us to go to court, they must make sure that they bring us the Caesar's wife. And there is no compromise about this. The Caesar's wife is that person who is beyond reproach. The Caesar's wife is that person who meets and who fits the bill under Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Whether they like it or they don't like it, that is what our Constitution has decreed, and that is what is going to be our cardinal guiding point.
Do you believe that the 11 that have been presented, there's Caesar's wife there?
Yeah, there could be some.
Okay.
There are some who are Caesar's wife, of course. I may not mention their names because I may not want to be accused of vouching for them. But the individuals that we are now vouching for, all the Amadis, all the Nyachaes, all the Ngweles, I mean, why should we just look at them as if they were the only competitors?
Okay.
We have someone like Manegene, a stout advocate, a person of unquestionable character, if you wanted me to mention but a few. I have not had any questionable character in respect to the Manegene character, but people are not even speaking about her, and she's a panelist. So if you don't give us such kind of characters, be assured we shall challenge it.
When we started, we talked about, to some extent, we got it wrong when it comes to the panel, we got it wrong when it comes to the shortlist because of some questionable character, just like Ndego is putting it. And if we don't get Caesar's wife, then we go to court. What should the selection panel, Vincent, be looking at when they select this individual who is going to be the chair of this commission?
Okay, thank you. Like I said, the Constitution is very clear in terms of the key requirements for the chair position. And we've had a chance to listen to the 11 candidates who had expressed in the position. They've shared in terms of their qualifications and why they feel they deserve that position. But one thing I'm happy about is we also had a window where it allowed the members of public also to share, to ask questions or to give feedback to the panel that is in charge of this process. The only thing we can do for now is to wait for the final report. Let's see who will be selected, the two individuals that will be selected by the panel. If we feel the individuals do not meet what we as the members of public are looking for, of course, it allows those who want to go to court, they'll take that approach. But did we have to wait for the as we court to stop the process, to challenge the individuals that will be selected, then we also need to start asking ourselves, then how will this also impact the performance of the commission that is going to be established? Because there are quite a number of things that need to happen between now to 2027. One of them being the issue of voter registration. I know my fellow panelists have talked about this. Another issue is the issue of boundary delimitation. This is supposed to happen before next year, August. We have several constituencies and several wards that do not have representation in the National Assembly and even in the county assemblies. And even lastly, if you follow the work of ILOG, we recently also issued a statement encouraging the need to audit the voter register, because there are quite a number of issues or errors that we were able to find in the previous register during after the 2027 elections. And okay, unfortunately, there are those ones whom probably we already know their past. Someone like Amadi, we already know some of the issues that she carries on her back, and basically the issue of the corruption scandal that she's mentioned in. But for the other individuals, the only way we can tell whether they also have such issues or questionable character, it's only through the getting feedback from the public. And at this point, we haven't had a chance to look at what the panel received from the public. And we can only get access to that when they finalize the process and give us a report and tell us why they felt candidates A and B are the best for this position.
Okay. As ILOG, like you raised that particular important point in terms of wanting to audit the 2022, the voter register. If all these things do not get to happen, what are we risking in 2027?
Okay, of course, we are likely to see the same challenges we faced as a country. First, even when I talked about the things that needs to happen, at this point, the IEBC itself does not have a strategic plan that will guide its operation from now to 2027. So if we are going to find ourselves in a situation where most of these things are not done, of course, first there'll be an issue of trust in the commission itself, whether they'll be in a position to to manage the elections well, and even beside all this, unfortunately, everyone, we are all against. We do not want to find ourselves going back to the previous issues we've experienced in elections. Looking back from the 2007 election, the 2013 election, and even the 2017 elections, that are as a result of the IBC probably lacking the capacity, the full support to execute its mandate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, lack of trust seems to be a very big issue when it comes to elections in this particular country. Right now, the selection panel, people do not have, don't trust it. They don't trust the decision that they are going to make. When it is constituted, how does the IBC get to regain the trust of the public, or not even regaining it, just attempting to bring people to their side?
Elections in this country are generally an emotive question. And this comes from also our history in terms of previous elections. But we've also had the benefit of having nearly every election, every presidential election, being challenged in court, and the court clarifying how the electoral infrastructure should be to But considering the interests that are there, considering the fact that we come from a history of allegations of rigging, allegations of interference, and noting that, and if you look at what Kriegler said, we've had a situation where we are changing the electoral laws or changing the electoral commissioners too close to an election which then defeats the element of creating stability, the element of winning stakeholder confidence. So the IBC that comes into place as a result of this would be having a very difficult job, because immediately they get into office, they need to start making preparations, they need to start working with holders for purposes of building confidence, and they have such a short window. And we are feeling that the referee is biased. Then the possibility of witnessing scenes that we have witnessed before as a result of lack of confidence in the referee to the elections is a real possibility.
Just 1 minute on the question of the confidence. And I want to move beyond the individuals now who are being interviewed and say that other than the human resource itself, the electoral process encompasses other infrastructure, the legal infrastructure and the IT infrastructure. And you can see little effort is being placed on making sure that we align our electoral laws in accordance to the issues that the Supreme Court raised. We have not invested in that whatsoever. So our Election Act is as it was in 2022. We have not invested in making sure that the Election Act, which is the legal infrastructure that delivers a free, fair, and secure election, is aligned in that spirit. Number two,
it was a minute.
Yes.
I want to cross over to the other side. We'll come back and finish on that. Kagina, let me give you this opportunity.
Elections, IBC has found itself at the center of attention following allegations of cheating and everything in the elections. They've had to time and again defend themselves in court following that. And my question to the panel right here, starting with Fidel, would be, what do you feel IBC should do in order to regain the trust of Kenyans in elections?
One, and I'll give this with regards to what Kenyans have been raising. We raised issues on SHA, they said it was wrong, and then it came and haunted them. We raised issues on new funding model. The government said it was right, it haunted them. We raised the same on finance bill, it haunted them. We are now raising questions on Anna Amadi and Nyachai, who are politically affiliated to the government, and you are now, with the character we are seeing with the panel, they will now question it and give them a heads up. I'd like to tell the selection panel led by Makanda, embrace discomfort and stand with the truth. If the rage of Kenyans haunted the government, you are a small human being. With the kind of rage that Kenyans have, it is like massaging a lion's balls. You will find it rough. Kenya is not the same place you had. It is time for change. If you don't change, change will change you.
All right, Beth?
I think the IEBC I would want to see is this. We need to hit the election. Just not elections. I would like to see from them, is responsibility. We shouldn't hear there wasn't me narrative. It wasn't me, it was him, it was that one, it was no. It is all of you. When one of you fails, it means all of you have failed. I would like to see transparency from them. Like, for instance, once the elections are over, tell us how you spent the money that was, allocated to the commission. To the nitty-gritty, to the pen, to the rubber, how did you spend it? And also pointing out their own mistakes. This is what perhaps we did not do well. That kind of openness can bring public confidence. But I think the most important thing that I would like to see from the commission going forward, is a commission which adheres to corporate governance principles, a commission which talks to each other between, the staff of the commission, the chairperson and the commissioners. So perhaps what I would not like to see is, wrangles perhaps spilling over into public because they have not been well managed in terms of dispute resolution. But something I would just like to remind us all is that, or to remind the people who are going to come into the very, very dangerous place. So that is their main role. That is the main principle that they should hold the entire time that they're in office. And their morality and ethics should be top-notch. Just to use what my colleague Ndegwa has said, Caesar's wife, above reproach. So that is it for me.
All right, and before I let you go, there's an issue of just going back to the elections that are completed, checking where they went right and where they went wrong in terms of doing what we'll call an audit of the election. Do you think Kenya has a space for that? Are we in a position, or rather do we have the capacity to do that?
I think we should have the space for that, because where we know where we went wrong in terms of the electoral process is what we fix. If the issues came perhaps at the polling station, perhaps we had presiding officers who are not above reproach. How exactly do we fix that? How do we make sure that the people who come in throughout the entire electoral process until, the announcement of whoever has won, presidency, governor or senator, people of integrity, then we must fix that. If the issue is that there was wastage of public resources in terms of procurement of electoral materials, we need to see where the wastage was. And something just to add to that, in commissions we take the collective responsibility approach. It is all of us. But perhaps it is time that, we start also, in addition to collective responsibility, taking individual responsibility. So if it was your role to perhaps procure electoral materials and you did not do it well, then you should be asked to account for how you did your work. So we should stop hiding behind, the banner of all of us did this. So I think that would ensure that the kind of commissioners who come in next know that their role is not basically to be flower girls and flower boys of political parties or political masters. It is about doing their job well as an individual.
All right, and probably taking this to Fidel. on the conversation of, auditing results, do you think this would contribute to regaining the trust and streamlining the processes?
I think as at now, we all know that there is high level of election malpractice in Kenya. So what I think is of essence now is the selection panel should not end this relationship that Kenyans are giving them a benefit of doubt of. As I told them, embrace discomfort, because you are not right. Being tough at this critical moment will make you do. And the best thing you will do with this, bring in relative young people who undergo daily challenges like the Kenyans are doing. They will be able to stand by the truth. These people will get guidance from people who have been here. Remember that Isaac Hassan was here, and Isaac Hassan is the same person who says that running IEBC is not just what you see. It is not a walk in the park, meaning that you deliver bad people or personnel to the commission, will automatically get very screwed results. So do what is right at the right time, at the right place.
All right, Amoy, and we continued to ask this question to the audience following this conversation from wherever they are, and we were asking what is the kind of IEBC that you're looking at? Who among the 11 that expressed interest in the position of the chairperson turns out to be your favorite?
The question that you're posing to our audience as we continue with this conversation. Let me come to you, Ndegwa. Yes. We're talking about different individuals and what they've been able to present as far as their case is concerned before this particular panel. One of the questions that was asked, of course, was the issue to do with Joy Mdivos, having, holding a different position in a political party that is allied, all right? One that is actually associated with the President of the Republic of Kenya. That, when we take a look at the Constitution, still becomes an issue. And that brings about the question that we are asking. At what point did we decide that this is the list that we needed as a country?
Well, we decided that this is a list that we needed as a country the time we decided that we want an IBC that will be capable of being manipulated and an IBC that will be user-friendly. I say so because, and this is very embarrassing for the panel, that they were able to leave 2024 out, and Joy Mdivo found herself in the list of the successful 11. Yet, she was supposed to be left with the 24. Why? Because it is in the public knowledge that she has been holding, she's a member of the UDA. Mm-hmm. UDA is associated with Mr. William Ruto. She has been holding a governing position in that political party. Then let's put that that issue and subject it to the constitutional test and see whether she meets the test. I want my viewers to go and, in their own free time, look at Article 88, Clause 2, Paragraph A, Roman 2. For the benefit of those who do not hold it at this time, permit me to read it out. A person is not eligible for appointment as a member of the commission if the person, remember the chairperson is also a member of the commission. Mm-hmm. If a person has been a member of a governing body of a political party for the last 5 years, it is in white and black that this individual has been holding a position in UDA. Then you present him at the list of the finalists. And then you say she's even appearing before you as a panel for purpose of interview. How is it that they were able to close their eyes to the requirement of this constitution if this panel is not conveniently working for someone? And then how will that breathe confidence with the people when there is blatant violation of the Constitution? How then do you expect that if she successfully becomes the chairperson, that a person like me will keep quiet and close my eyes to these blatant violations?
Okay. So, Vincent, let me come to you. Like and that's if not most of them, in terms of how they plan to handle this particular position. Why is it a dangerous post, the IEBC?
Thank you. I think going by the numbers of people who express interest in the chair position, it shows that it's a position that probably most Kenyans are not interested in. The question of why that only Kenyans can respond to that, but I'll say probably it's based on the previous experience. We've seen the way the previous chairs have performed, and the pressure that comes with holding such a position. Let's remember this quiz from the committee. There's always that you declare results. There's the aspect of going to court and all those issues that emerge as a result of holding such a position. So, and that's why very few Kenyans expressed interest in this position. It's because of the different pressures and the stake it holds in the country. Okay.
Yeah. Eric, 35 people showed interest, 11 were shortlisted. You know, when it comes to the other positions, of course, the commissioners, we saw a very huge number of people showing interest as far as that is concerned. 35 is a small number, for people to show interest in the chair of the IEBC, and that now the question of whether it is a dangerous position or not comes in. Do you believe it is a dangerous position?
Well, it's a job that has to be done, and you have to appreciate that the chair of the IEBC occupies a very special place. There are certain requirements in terms of qualification that that person must meet. So if you are looking at it, and if you are looking at the lawyers who meet that criteria, then you're not looking at a very huge pool, so that you can then be able to say, maybe 35 is either a small number or a big number. It is obvious that anyone who wanted to take who wanted to apply for the position of the chair of IEBC would have looked at all the issues that are there. First of all, it's the time. You come in almost 2.5 years to an election. You have by-elections to conduct. You have to prepare for an election. You have to look at the question of delimitation of boundaries. You have to look at the question of registration of voters. You have to look at the question of the infrastructure, both the hardware and the software, to manage the election. And so that in itself is such a huge task to be done in 2.5 years that may, for example, dissuade someone like, maybe if I was to just use it as an example, Mr. Njiru here, if he qualifies, would look at it and say, I don't think that perhaps, given the time,
Okay.
I can be able to discharge this function. So
All right.
first of all, we must commend all those that apply for just having the courage to take on what is obviously
All right.
a very difficult job, and even made much more difficult because of the timelines that are involved. But let me say this, that the final outcome of the interview, including the disclosures that would be made in the report in terms of what they looked at on shortlisting, questions that, for example, have been raised about some candidates appearing not to meet the constitutional requirements to qualify for that position, would then be put to test at that particular point.
All right.
And that is when now the rubber will begin to meet
The road.
the road. Right now, we can only ask certain questions and make certain suppositions and assumptions.
Okay.
But the innuendo would become, will be solidified
All right.
once we now see the final product
Okay.
and the report that
Right.
gives the justification as to why they did certain things and why they didn't do others.
Allow me only one minute to throw this spanner to the works. Only 1 minute to throw this spanner to the works.
I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. Let's cross over to Mumbi on the other side. Let's get to hear what Kenyans are saying as far as this is concerned.
Thank you so much. And the conversation tonight is all about the reconstitution of a new IEBC commission. The IEBC selection panel finalized the interviews for the candidates eyeing the IEBC chair position, and that was concluded today to fill the vacant position for the former IEBC chair, the late Wafula Chebukati, as the interviews for the commissioners are set to commence tomorrow. And we're asking you tonight, who do you think is the most suitable candidate to fill the position for the IEBC chair? Who do you think is the most suitable candidate to fill the position of the IEBC chair? You can talk to us on our various social media platforms on Facebook, Kameme TV Kenya, as well as K24 TV on Twitter or X at Kameme TV Kenya, as well as on K24 TV. We have a few views coming in. Robert Muredi, 17, says, to me, he thinks Brenda impressed him and she deserves a chance. Asante sana. You're talking about Joy Masinde Mdivo. Asante sana. Sodom Korofi says, look at those implicated in scandals. Those will be chosen. Your views, Sodom Asante. P. Mutua, 2012. Does it matter who is selected for commoners? A very important question. Elia, oh, what a name. The same youths are criticizing those occupying offices as traitors. Asante sana for your views. Mutunga Martin 1, kwa wale ambao wako shortlisted, kuna youth hapo? I think that was a question, Mutunga. Thank you so much for your views tonight. Tabi from Coast, they will always be the same. Let's take a few from Facebook. We have Kevin Kochaka, either Nyachai, Charles Nyachai, or Anna Amadi. Bottom line, it's coming to Nyanza. Quite interesting views. Okech Ogola says, whoever will be selected to lead IEBC is already known by the political establishment. Let's hope they can do the right thing for once. Asante sana, Okech, for your views. And we do appreciate all your views tonight, for just contributing to tonight's discussion on the reconstitution of the IEBC Commission, as the select panel finalized those interviews today. Thank you so much all for your views, for your feedback. It's been a pleasure. My name is Mumbi Chege. I'll now be handing over to David Kagina to take it over from here. Kagina?
As we enter into the closing session of tonight's conversation, allow me to engage my panelists on their closing statements, starting with Fidel.
I'll be very short and brief in my parting shot. I'll say this. Fascism is occurring in IEBC selection panel, where they are trying to entice fools who in this day and era do not exist, with the hope of enticing the intellectuals who are not boarding this ship. Ask yourself this question. Why is it that people who are appearing in public service for the past 2 years have been coming from UDA or are UDA affiliated, and in the recent past have now come majorly from ODM? And as you say this is my message to Makanda and the select committee. The silence of a goat does not necessarily mean that it is ready to be slaughtered. You can take that to the bank and digest it.
All right, Beth.
I think my take is this. At the end of this process, we'll have a chairperson and commissioners of the IEBC. It is prudent they come in as clean as Caesar's wife. But most important is that they leave the office as clean as they came in. And just, a short to us as the voters. The electoral process, it's not that we engage with it at the point of putting in our ballot. We must be the checks and balances against the IEBC. So if they're not carrying out sufficient civic education on issues on the electoral process, kindly hold them to account. We must work with them from the start to the end. That is when we can flesh out the issues which are coming up. We can flesh out, what they're doing right, pat them on the back and ensure that they're in the history books, to continue in the next elections. But this is what I'll say. Democracy is about us. It's about us as the people. So as the people, we must not at any point drop the ball. Let us not say IEBC is wrong at the point that, votes have been counted. Let us say IEBC is wrong at the point of voter registration, at the point of civic education, at the point they procure the materials, at the point, what I'm just saying is throughout the entire electoral process.
All right, thank you very much, Beth Michoma and Fidel Ogoya, for making time to join us here on the People's Dialogue. Thank you also for following through this conversation. I'm David Kagina. To you, Amwai.
So as we get the final remarks from this particular panel, I have 3 minutes with you. I'm going to give each one a minute to just, make your final remarks on this particular conversation. Let me start with you, Ndegwa, because you had something that you're saying before we actually cross it to the other side.
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate that I'll have a parting shot that is not very encouraging, because the panel that we currently have is predominantly dominated by the blood-based government individuals. Of course, with panelists having been selected by ODM and other panelists having been selected by UDA, it becomes perhaps a more pro-government panel. But I want to give hope to the Kenyans that doesn't matter who will become the chairperson or who will become the member of the commission. We shall democracy is defended by the eternal vigilance of the individuals. We shall endeavor to eternally defend our democracy. We shall have the eternal vigilance to guide our democracy. We shall even protect our votes on that particular day. So we shall have two tires, where the IBC is working out, and the people themselves, under Article 1 of the Constitution, are also actively and directly guarding the process. That is to say, that Kenyans will not allow a person who has come, or a person to be sworn in as a president of Kenya, if the election is skewed and fraud. We shall make sure that no such kind of a person is sworn as a president. Hivi ni kusema hivi kwa Kiswahili. Wakenya hawatakubali mtu yeyote ambaye hajachaguliwa na wananchi aapishwe kama rais wa nchi ya Kenya. Vile mlivyoona Gen Z walivyofanya, wakadefend nchi yao on the 25th of June. Hivyo ndivyo tutakavyo defend na kuiprotect demokrasia yetu.
All right, 30 seconds on this one. How would you ascertain that, because people will go to the ballot to vote?
Yes.
How would you say this, the person that will be declared has not been elected by Kenyans, if at all, people are seen going to the queue and be able to cast their vote?
We have already started seeing the scheme to rig the elections. As we speak, 5 counties from the northern region of the country, population census was declared a nullity and revoked by the court. That is to say, and the court said that there must be a subsequent census that will be done. As we speak, the boundaries have been opened. As we speak, I hear that the Kakuma refugees are going to be naturalized and issued with IDs.
Right.
So the scheme is already out there. We are reading the scheme. We are seeing the mischief.
Right.
And that's why I'm telling Kenyans that it is not enough for you to just go and cast your vote on the ballot box. It is also important for you to defend that vote so that your vote can have a meaning.
I get your point.
Yes.
Victor, I mean, it's as we finalize on this particular conversation, what kind of IBC do Kenyans want?
Thank you. In fact, that was to be my parting shot. Kenyans are looking for a competent IBC, an IBC that understands its mandate, an IBC that is committed to execute its mandate. And at this point, all this lies in the hands of the selection panel. They are bestowed with the powers to ensure that they constitute the correct IBC that Kenyans are looking for. But as I conclude, I work with young people, and this is my request to the, this is what I'll tell the selection panel. As we try to ensure this, the regional balance, as we try to ensure there is the gender equality and all that, let's also ensure that there is youth representation in the commission.
All right. Eric, final remarks on this particular conversation. What should we be expecting coming from that particular list?
Well, I expect that the selection panel is well versed with the election history of this country, the various reports that have been done, including the Kriegler report, and understanding just how critical it is that the institution that runs the next election, the institution that can conduct a referenda, if any is required, the institution that will undertake voter registration and all the other processes that are set out in the Constitution, that institution is one that enjoys public confidence, is one that is not only impartial, but is seen to be impartial, and that eventually, irrespective of the kind of challenges they get as they get into office, would be able to discharge its constitutional mandate in a manner that fits the Constitution as has been interpreted by the various courts in terms of what we expect of a free and fair election.
Thank you so much. And of course, that's where we wrap it up here on the People Dialogue, both on Kameme and K24 TV. My name is Brian Amwai. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation here on K24 and Kameme TV. Let's do this again when God says we do. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time tonight.